Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, fall camp has arrived, and that already means we got personnel shuffling and battles raging. Joey McGuire speaks on all of the above next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Thanks as always for making us your first listen. And we are coming to you on the heels of Texas Tech Media Day held there at Jones Stadium, as we got to hear from Red Raider head coach Joey McGuire, a couple of coordinators, Kenny Perry in the mix, a bevy of Red Raiders themselves, and we'll be pouring over some of these thoughts and some of what we took away from this for the remainder of the week, as we are now into fall camp season. Welcome, everyone. Does the air have a little bit of a fall crispness to it today? Did you wake up feeling like, hey, football fever is in the air? Well, that's the difference. Fall camp has finally arrived, right?
Hell no, the air didn't feel different. It's way too hot outside still. But
You gotta use your imagination.
I know, but I did get to breathe the air inside portions of Jones AT&T Stadium, so that part was good because I had not been inside or near said facility since, I guess, the Saturday before Thanksgiving in 2023 when Central Florida went down at the hands of the Red Raiders in an emotional, fun win. Yeah, it was fun to be around a lot of the guys yesterday, the players, coordinators, Coach McGuire, I mean, all the above, because it's one of those checklist things that you can now mark off, and it just brings you a bit closer. Big 12 Media Days, rearview mirror. Now Texas Tech Media Day in the rearview mirror. Now practices and meetings are ongoing, and we'll look up here before long, and they'll have practiced for a week already. And, we'll be on the countdown for Abilene Christian on August 31st.
I think to borrow a descriptor from Red Raider baseball head coach Tim Tadlock, a fact-finding mission that now begins as we figure out how they're going to line up, at least for week one, because things continuously, obviously, remain fluid. And that's really how we begin our conversation here today, Chris, with already a dose of news, I guess you would say, at least, along the offensive line. And that's where we will begin taking a listen to Red Raider head coach Joey McGuire. We've had this set of 5 guys in these 5 places in our minds leaving spring camp and as we approach fall camp. But as they begin fall camp and the rubber meets the road, it's going to look just a little bit different. Here's Red Raider head coach Joey McGuire.
Sound crazy for a 315-pound guy. I think he may be 318, but Sterling Prochet ran 20 miles per hour on the GPS the other day during our team run and kind of tweaked his hamstring. And so he'll get to do some individual and stuff like that. We're going to slow him up. I don't want to really mess with our left guard, center, right tackle position. So we're going to let Caleb play some left tackle, which he's done before, because Sterling will be back within the next week. That allows Davion Carter, who's played a lot of right guard, to play right guard. When we met yesterday, the biggest thing that we've got to do, and we're really lucky because we have a lot of depth, is Davion's got to play enough center. We've got a really good competition going on there. And then Caleb's got to play enough right guard to where he's getting the reps that he needs to. The good thing is you've got a month. I mean, we're fixing to go from July 31st hitting each other to August 31st hitting somebody else. And so you've got a month to kind of get it all sorted out. I definitely would like to have it where we could have 2 weeks of those guys together.
So there's some news there to consider personnel-wise, but also pronunciation-wise. Did I hear a Porsche in there? I grew up in the flatland out in Lamb County, so pardon my simple roots, Chris, but I've been reading this as Porcher. And apologies to Sterling as well as we've rolled through. I guess it's that Sumter, South Carolina background that's maybe coming through. Sterling Porsche is maybe what we're rolling with now moving forward. That caught my attention as much as anything.
And I think I heard Joey say Prochet. There was like a PR. Yeah, so I'm not real sure. I'm gonna wait to. Nothing against the situation here, but I used to do this where I would just take the coach's word. In all my years of doing this, when they would pronounce a name, I'd take their word for it and roll. And like, okay, well, he would clearly know, right? Whether it be coach, coordinator, position coach, or in a variety of different sports. And then I learned, yeah, that's not how you say my name. I'm like, dang, has somebody told coach, or who, whatever. And so for purposes of this show, we will do the Prochet. Something or other. Yeah. And so you're left tackle. But yeah, we've been rolling portrait. But this is when the sport starts here, the football part of this, because now we have a bit of a minor issue, that it's going to cause some movement, and no panic. We got all kinds of time left before Abilene Christian rolls in here, ready for week 1. But this is a position that we would all agree is maybe at the forefront of kind of what you're. In fact, Joey was asked in a different portion of said press conference. I mean, we need the offensive line to step up in general, like big picture. And so now you have a situation where the group that you had maybe penciled in or kind of started to let the ink dry a little bit, they're not going to get the first week to, week plus of work together. Not ideal or anything. Luckily, it sounds minor in nature. But now we're gonna take, as he says, put Caleb over at left tackle and put Davion Carter. Now, there's a couple different things here. It's really nice to have a guy like Davion Carter that is an old guy, student, and was thought to be kind of the sixth guy anyway. Certainly the top interior option to just slot in there. It's nice to have Caleb Rogers with all that versatility in his background and just kick him out at left tackle. However, the price you pay is that now these are all kinds of reps that Caleb is not getting at right guard, 1. And 2, it's just reps that the group, as you had thought, isn't getting to gel and the chemistry and all that, because most coaches would say this. It takes 2 to 4 weeks in the season to really gel an offensive line anyways, even sometimes with groups that have played together, because they get attacked differently and there's different dynamics with the offense that they're in, and there's different calls and all that stuff. And so, again, not ideal, but you're going to miss some of that, but it is what it is. And this is why we had always talked, when you start talking about positions and breaking it down, things can and will change. This is why you cross-train. This is why you have depth. This is why you bring in the amount of guys that you do, and then you give them a look at a variety of different positions. So when something like this happens, maybe just for a short week in fall camp, we can maneuver our pieces around and away we go. So, and it's obviously the other bad part is, this is obviously Sterling is going to miss these reps at left tackle. So, anyway, I just wasn't necessarily expecting that, but it is what it is. And you salute and you move on, and hopefully everybody will kind of be better for it. And we'll look up a week and a half, 2 weeks from now and be like, okay, we can all breathe now, everything back to normal. But this is probably just the beginning of a hamstring tweak or muscle aches or an injury here or there with your team. This is the sport. I mean, this is what you'll deal with. You just kind of hold your breath trying to get through fall camp without anything crazy happening.
Yeah, he's not a college football rookie, but he is a Red Raider rookie. And so there was a component to that newness, I guess, that you'd like to have him this time, obviously, in fall camp, or have this time at his disposal to begin fall camp. And then, the chemistry, the synergy needed along the offensive line, which even if they were there for the entirety of fall camp, we would still be saying, all right, we need a couple of weeks in the regular season, games actually played to continue to establish that. But nothing new necessarily as far as trying to figure out how to deal with this guy or that guy being moved around or missing some time. So thankfully, again, still a month away, and maybe it'll be something that you can take care of early on in camp and then hit the ground running as you get into the second half of this upcoming month. I do hate, of course, I mean, we talked about this when we talked about the offensive line a couple of weeks ago, that it is this position, because I felt like obviously left tackle is a premier position for any football team or any offensive line, but I also just kind of felt like, Chris, this one had been sort of under discussed. It was just like Sterling was penciled in there, and that conversation was not very complex or anything that we spent a lot of time on like we did with some of the others, like who's going to emerge here. So I'll be really curious to see that if you do have to rely on some depth, or if it is a guy like Caleb Rogers, obviously the far-reaching impact of that elsewhere within that group. And let's not forget, you've got a new coach as far as the position goes with Clay McGuire that's patrolling all of the above. So something to keep an eye on as we kick off fall camp.
Yeah, and it wasn't lost on me when this group is top of mind awareness around the football program, and its place in ultimately deciding where you want to go. I mean, ultimately the quarterback's health is maybe higher on the list. However, in some ways, other than the QB himself, who has most to do with the health of the QB? It's this group up front. And, they threw a lot of assets in the portal at trying to recruit ready-made pieces for this. And hopefully there's some payoff here with some of that. But you're right. I think when you and I talked about offensive line in general, and we would even talk about Sterling, individually, I think we had said that, hey, at worst case, he's just going to be solid. It's not going to be like all conference potentially, but it's also not going to be, oh God, he's just terrible. It's just solid. And I guess you're okay with that, but you maybe would like for it to be better, or the group in general to be a bit better. Luckily, he's got the left guard for you he's mean, he's nasty. He grew up near the Pro Football Hall of Fame up in Ohio. Vinny Scurry is somebody I think you could feel really, really good about on that offensive line, because I think he's got maybe the highest pro potential possibly, and some of the highest PFF rankings, and some of the things that he's on some different radars, I guess, for next year, I should say. And he told me that he's been to the Pro Football Hall of Fame about 12 to 14 times. And he's like, when I grew up and was born, when you in that part of Ohio, like they just put a football in your hand and that's just away you go. We'll just kind of see. Don't forget the name Dalton Merriman. I think, Dylan Shaw, Daniel Sill, I think they're internally extremely high on Sheridan Wilson. But obviously not, again, reason you brought in Jackson Hughes, just not super solidified and locked in and feeling wonderful about your offensive tackle position. And now you're without one for, first week or so.
Let's stick with the offensive theme and get to some other position competitions and or battles that will be ongoing as we open up fall camp that stood out to Red Raider head coach Joey McGuire.
First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Never sweat buying tickets to your favorite events again with Gametime. It's always a breeze using the Gametime app, where you're going to find the best last-minute deals. And I love being able to scout out a view from any seat before pulling the trigger. And of course, it's always at the lowest price, guaranteed. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it begins, which means you can finish off that last beer at the tailgate at your own pace, because Gametime is the place to find last-minute seats to any event. They give you the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets, but not just fast and easy, also secure and simple to use. So right now, download the Gametime app and create an account and use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem our promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today for last-minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed.
Today's episode brought to you by Factor. Fuel up this summer with Factor's no prep, no mess meals and meet all of your wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-crafted options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, even Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in only 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. What are you waiting for? Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you're going to always have new flavors to explore. From breakfast to dessert, you can stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. So go ahead and treat yourself to restaurant quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, blackened salmon, and much, much more, all while keeping kitchen time to a minimum since Factor meals are ready in only 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. So head to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 and use our code lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code lockedoncollege50 at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 for 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active with Factor. Let's stick with the offensive theme and get to some other position competitions and or battles that will be ongoing as we open up fall camp that stood out to Red Raider head coach Joey McGuire.
Man, I think the number 2 running back, the two Cams are going at each other. You know, you've got Cam Valdez, who's got more experience, but Cam Dickey had a great spring. The tight end battle, I mean, we feel like that we have 3 NFL tight ends, you know, so where do they fit in? And like with Jalen Conner, he's fully back. He's been back for a month. I mean, where all does he fit? I mean, we've talked about wildcat quarterback. We've talked about fullback. We've talked about tight end. We've talked about outside receiver, you know, finding ways to get him in a lot of different spots. Now you add Micah Hudson back into the mix. He's fully back. You know, who does he go after? Because he's going to go after some spot. And so what does that look like?
Running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and the mention of 3 NFL tight ends. Again, Joey McGuire's never going to apologize about being excited about his guys, but I thought that was a hell of a descriptor he threw in there.
Yeah, you know, all those tight ends are going to play, period. I don't know if we can rank the reps. I mean, I think Mason Tharp and Jalen Conyers are going to get more reps than maybe Giancarlo Miller, but he's absolutely going to play. And to Joey's point about them being NFL, it's like, was it the East-West Shrine game or the Senior Bowl or whatever? They put out like a watch list the other day of like 1,000 players in college football, and all 3 guys were on it. You know, so I mean, there's only 250 that get, you know, drafted each year, and you know, maybe slightly more than that go to the combine each year. So you know, we'll see. And 1,000 obviously, and 250 or ish is math. You know, that there's, but to his point, I mean, they're certainly on somebody's radar. The number 2 running back, I think, is we've talked about this too. It fascinates me in that I think, as we've touched on, you need to figure that out because this person needs to play. As you don't want to be so reliant on what Taj can do for you. You've just got to rest him and prolong him and all that. And I'm willing to tell you that I don't think anybody's necessarily going to win the number 2 running back job. I really think it's going to be like 2 and 2A. And I'll tell you why. I'd be willing to bet you that big picture, Cam Dickey may end up being a better college running back than Cam Valdez. Although I don't think he's that now. And I think that for everything that Cam may be able to do with the blitz pickup, that Cam Valdez can do running the ball. And you're trying to and I just don't envision you, I don't know, like really going heavily on Cam Dickey and be like, okay, he won it. Because, I mean, Cam Valdez, you're likely to lose him, or, okay, you know, just shut it down. And I mean, mentally, you know, right. And so I think you'll kind of see a split there. It's nice just to have some options, but it is again, top of mind awareness. And I think Joey talked about too, as far as like big picture storylines, one of the things that he's most excited about, and it better be exciting, he was almost kind of like demanding it, like it better be, is we have very much upgraded the offensive skill, but it needed to be upgraded. And I think people will see it immediately. And then we know the names: Micah, Caleb, Kelly, tight ends we've talked about, and on it goes. And then Cowboy Coy and on and on. But it needed to be upgraded, but I think they are internally very excited about that aspect too, because without upgraded skill, you're not going to be explosive, and you needed to be explosive on offense.
So if I'm understanding correctly about the running back battle behind Brooks, kind of maybe described as neither one of those guys anticipating being the complete package to where you would just box out the other dude, but both of those guys anticipated to do some things that are appealing and you want to get in the mix and probably a little bit different from one another, I guess. Am I feeling it out the right way?
Yeah, I just think I think Valdez is maybe the better runner right now with the ball in his hands, whereas I think Dickey is more of a guy that can maybe pick up the blitz and he's still learning and doing some different things, but he's also just a bit bigger. So he can dish out and deliver and withstand some blows and all that. So yeah, I mean, ideally you take players like this and you just like mesh them together, and it's like, here's our backup running back right here. But that's not how it works. But yeah, there's some things that's why Taj is so hard to take off the field, because see, he's really good at all of these things. Like he
is a complete package. Yeah.
yeah. Just lacks the top end speed, but it's not lost on Joey or Zach Kitley or Kenny Perry that the number 2 running back is a fairly big storyline with your team. Just in general, it's just nice to have some options.
It's kind of crazy given the fact of that context, because I think it relies on the fact that your number 1 running back is arguably the biggest storyline of the season, in the sense that he may be your best outright overall individual player, but to keep him as that throughout the year and able to do what he does, you're going to need that next guy to carry a load, or that next 2A and 2B, whatever that actually looks like. So there's kind of a burden on the rest of that group to do some things and do a little lifting because of how good the first guy is. And you want to keep him fresh and keep him doing good things and productive things as we get into late October and into November. Let's flip the script and head across the line of scrimmage and take a listen again to Coach McGuire talking about some of those battles that will be raging in fall camp under Tim DeRuyter's watchful eye on the defensive side of things.
First, today's episode brought to you by eBay Motors. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and keep that ride or die ride on the road, or elevate your car's game to the next level of performance. Superchargers, exhaust kits, LED headlights, roof racks, and accessories of all kinds to fit your style. Whether it's power, speed, or design you're into, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts to perfectly fit what you need. Just head over to ebay.com/motors now, where you'll always find exactly what you're looking for, and at no risk because of eBay's guaranteed fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit just right every time, or your money back, keeping you burning rubber and not burning cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to keep your ride or die on the road and moving your life forward at ebay.com/motors. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply.
Let's flip the script and head across the line of scrimmage and take a listen again to Coach McGuire talking about some of those battles that will be raging in fall camp under Tim DeRuyter's watchful eye on the defensive side of things.
On the defensive side of the ball, I think the secondary, I mean, we have C.J. Baskerville, who's played a lot of football that we feel really good at boundary safety. Braylon Lux, I think he's one of the top corners in college football, has played a lot of football. And so now you've got some young guys, free safety, strong safety. A.J. McCarty's back now. Now he's eligible to play. And so you add him, a guy that has started games in the Big 12. So I think the secondary, like one of the corners and the 2 safety spots, free safety and strong safety, there's a lot of competition right there who's going to be starters. But defensively, it's good to have as many guys as we have to play. To have 7 defensive tackles, there's a lot of competition in there. I mean, it hasn't been like this to where we've been able to come into fall camp, feel good about our starters, but know our starters can't feel good. Like, there's a lot of competition on this team.
I like that saying, feeling good about the starters, but the starters can't feel good necessarily or rest on their laurels. And it's kind of, I guess, bookending the front and back of the defense. You're feeling like some things solidified among those linebackers, and there are some pieces within the front or within the secondary I think you'd consider solidified, but it sounds like a lot of opportunity. And a lot of that has to do, obviously, the guys that walked out the door last year and aren't going to be back this year, whether it's Hutchings, Bradford, or a couple of the cornerbacks we've talked about that have played a lot of football in red and black. It's going to be really interesting to see how these competitions play out.
Yeah, we know who's going to get the bulk of the reps at the interior linebacker spots. I think that the defensive line, we kind of know that there'll be a rotation there, and there's a lot of folks that will. But I think the way Joey put it was like, if you're the battle for second string just in general in the secondary is going to be one of the most intriguing of all camp, because there's so many options. And there's a lot of versatility there, and you can move a lot of these pieces around. And as Joey put it, we could put an old secondary out there if we wanted to, and experienced, but that may not be the best one. But it's because you ultimately have the way I'm going to view this is there's 5 or 6 positions back there in the secondary, depending on what scheme or what call you're in. And I think Braylon Lux at corner and then CJ Baskerville at boundary safety are your 2, spots that I think those are pretty close to being solidified. But the other corner, your main nickel guy, the other safety, then you start getting into dime stuff. That's where it gets real, I don't know, muddy, if you will. And I didn't mean that was a pun, and I didn't because you did have a guy named Muddy Waters 2 years ago that was in this actual secondary. Didn't mean to do that, but you know what I mean. Great, a lot of gray area. yeah. I mean, absolutely, you are. But you hear the name. Mo Horn's been great at corner. We could move Devin Cromwell if some of the other corners step up. We could move Devin Cromwell to one of these safety spots. Chapman Lewis could be the front runner at free safety. Tim DeRuiter called him Boom Wilcox. And my ears perked up. I'm like, excuse me, Boom? But it's Javion Wilcox, one of the TCU walk-on that is now, and he's backing up Baskerville. You've got Jordan Sanford, and just there's a long list of names. It's just a lot of inexperience, but fairly highly recruited guys and guys that Joey and his staff have brought in here. And I don't know if they have a real good feel yet on where all the pieces are going to, land, if you will, as we get. So that group could look vastly different as we start compared to when we finish, and then at different points in between, certainly based on how well you're playing, how healthy you are, and all those things. And again, that's the beauty. That's what coaches do, is that a weekend they'll have a meeting and go, man, let's look at him here. I think we're good at this spot, but we could use help over here. He's been doing really good. I think he can handle it. I mean, and you start playing that game, and you start moving the pieces around on the blackboard with the names and all that. And then, that you try to put guys in a position to succeed. And what does the team need? And because they admitted they played Baskerville out of position last year because that's what the team needed. He is now more at his natural spot where he played at Fresno at boundary safety. And he's thankful that he gets to do that. But last year he's like, I was more than happy to do it. It's what the team needed. And, I was happy to try to help there. So that whole secondary in general is going to be pretty interesting to kind of follow, and just keep that list of 12 to 14 names handy, because they'll probably all factor in at some level.
Man, and speaking of CJ Baskerville and some others, we've got plenty more to come this week from Baskerville and some others. And we'll also get into some of the comments from the Red Raider coordinators as well, and some other thoughts from Joey McGuire as ladies, gentlemen, rowdies, ruffians, all the hardcore Red Raiders, you've made it to fall camp. The starting line has been crossed. So make sure your engine is started. If it's a push start, whatever it has to be, let's get rolling because the time has arrived. And Chris, before you know it, we'll be talking about a game week. We got to keep in mind that you don't just blow through an entire leisurely fall camp. You've got one of those weeks that you will spend preparing for an actual opponent as we get to the final stages of August, man. So looking forward to it. Appreciate the insights today. Enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, man, fun to be talking football. Love me some footballing now. We're about to flip that calendar toward August, and then we'll no looking back at that point. So anyway, but yeah, enjoyed really some good discussion as how we can start the process of counting down toward the opener and all those things. But yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, thanks for subscribing, all that good stuff here at Locked On Texas Tech. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
That's right. And stay tuned for a special announcement for, as I mentioned, those hardcore Red Raiders out there, those everydayers, those central members of the Locked On Texas Tech fam family. Got something special coming your way this week. So buckle up and hang on tight. For that, we will be back on the other side with plenty more. As Chris mentioned, make sure you get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Appreciate being your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On Big 12 on YouTube or also anywhere you find podcasts. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks for being out there, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.